And I'd like to ask Nina, our student board member, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, let the roll call reflect that all board members and cabinet are present. Let's see, Palm Desert High School's school board member, oath of office administrator. Okay, Dr. Kelly Mae Ballmer.
Yes, thank you so much. All right, so we have with us this evening our new student board member from Palm Desert High School, Nina Cabanyag. And I just want to give you a few facts about Nina before we do the oath of office. So the highlights of her academic career in high school include being on track for magna cum laude and at graduation, which is very prestigious, and congratulations on that. Also, she's enjoyed completing dual enrollment classes at College of the Desert. Some of her hobbies include baking, writing, art, and listening to a multitude of genres of music. She has quite the experience in leadership and volunteerism. She's been her class president for 3 years. She's in the National Charity League since 6th grade. She's on the Palm Desert High School School Site Council and has been so since her freshman year. And she recently started the self-care club at school and now is the student rep for the Bianca Reyes Foundation annual Ray of Hope Retreat Planning Committee. She's also volunteered with the Narrow Door, the Bianca Ray Foundation, Meals on Wheels, the Living Desert, BNP Tennis Tournament, and Safe House of the Desert. An interesting fact about her, as if all that wasn't interesting enough, because it was, is that she loves music and she collects vinyl records, and she has 16 of them on her bedroom wall. My daughter would love you because she does the same thing. So welcome. We're so happy to have you. And if you'll join me down front, we'll do your oath of office.
Approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of December 17th, December 13th, sorry, as submitted?
So moved. Tricia Pierce.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. And board meeting addenda, Dr. May Ballmer, is there any addenda?
There are none.
Okay. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda of the regular meeting of January 17th as listed? Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Any abstentions? Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And community, staff, and student recognition, Dr. May Vollmer.
Thank you very much. I'd like to invite our Public Information Officer, Mary Perry, up to the podium.
Thank you so much. We're going to start with the Lady Knights cross country team. Ladies, if you're here, please join us up front along with your coach. Anybody else? Mike Walsh here. I know David's here. Anybody that wants to come on up and join the group? So the Lady Knights, they are the first team in school history to make it to CIF finals. And then they took it a step beyond and they qualified for state finals. So they're coached by Richie DeTambo. Richie up here. And I'm going to list the name of athletes, and if you're here, wave, okay? And let's also give a shout out to Principal David Dunn and Assistant Principal Sharon Kalkowski, if you guys want to wave. All right, is Captain Marjorie Lopez here? They're on their way, we'll talk slow. Is Angela Vine here, another captain? On her way, yeah. Destiny Linville. Marie Ashley Gonzalez. They're all in the same car. And we're glad they're driving slowly and safely. Miranda Salcido. There she is. Julia Fernandez. Ruby Avila. Jalen McDermott. Sophia Ramirez. Ariana Lupin. Morelli Arroyo. Frida Arriaga. Kimmy Mills. And I'm going to invite Coach DeTambo to come up and say a few words, and maybe the other ladies will arrive while, and if not, if they arrive during the other announcements, we'll pause and recognize them.
Hi, thank you. I can talk for hours, and I'm not going to do that to you because I know you don't want to do that. The biggest thing for this, you always have your first, and you're always going to remember your first. Those kind of things only happen once. And when I showed up to Shadow Hills a few years back, this was one of the goals. And a couple people said, it's not going to happen. Not in the desert. That doesn't happen. You have to train in the summer, and it's going to take a while to get anybody to believe in that. We finally found the group that believed in what we were trying to do and what we were trying to accomplish. As she said, first goal was trying to get the CIF finals, and then we got there. The big story for me was that they were not supposed to get there. We were ranked 14th in CIF, and we finished 7th. Actually, we finished 6th. Top 7 go to state, and then we ended up going to state where we were ranked 19th, and we finished 13th in the state. So that was a big deal. It wasn't just getting there. Once we got there, we said, why not just keep on proving people wrong and take it up another notch. And ironically, we've talked about the future. The seniors and the captains, they're not here right now, but they're all coming back next year. And this is how we set the standards, and then we raise the standards from here. So just really proud to coach this group of girls who, like I said, they're not up here because they were given this. They earned their spot, and really proud of them. And look at that. And right on cue. Sure. So arriving 25 minutes late. But they're not sprinters, we're distance runners. So we will actually, let's see, who is here? Oh, yeah, okay. Angela Vine. These are all seniors. Marie Ashley Gonzalez. Destiny Linville. And I am going to save Marjorie Lopez for last because not only was she part of this historic group for our school, but she individually is the first to medal at CIF finals, to bring home a medal. She finished third in Division III. And then, again, we take a step farther up. At state, she medaled ninth. So she was ninth in the entire state of Division III. So now that they're all here, your girls 2022 first state finalist in school history at Shadow Hills.
Thank you, ladies, and congratulations. You can go ahead and be seated. And I do know that the seniors are actively being recruited by colleges. So we're going to have to watch our Lady Knight seniors as they progress to college next year. For the first time this year, the Desert Sun held a competition called Desert Sun's Best of the Desert. And they invited readers to nominate and vote for all kinds of categories. I think we actually have the best optometrist in the desert sitting up in the dais over there.
Yes, awesome.
So congratulations. We were also nominated in the category of public schools. So we had 4 semifinalists, and I believe all 4 principals are here. So as I call the school name, if the principal wants to stand up so we can give a cheer, that would be great. So Oliphant Elementary School, Principal Jeff Hiskin. Shadow Hills High School, David Dunn. And 2 of our 4 schools actually went on to be finalists. And that would be La Quinta High School, Principal Greg O'Mara. And Washington Charter Elementary School, Principal Alan Lehman. There he is. So when you think about the number of schools that are in the desert, I think it's pretty incredible that we had 4 that made it to the semifinals and 2 to the finals. So we'll see what happens next year. I'd also like to say congratulations to Chief Innovation and Information Officer Tiffany Norton. Tiffany, you want to come up here? Tiffany is the newest graduate of COSN's Early Career K-12 CTO Academy for Ed Tech Leaders. There's her certificate. And the Academy's program is for Ed Tech leaders with less than 4 full years as their district's technology leader. She took courses that included managing diverse teams, leading a variety of projects simultaneously, and collaborating with a variety of stakeholders. So Tiffany, would you like to say a few words?
Sure, I can be quick. So I want to thank Dr. May Volmer, who really encouraged me to get into this program. And I learned a lot about how to be a really good CTO, and I'm excited to put that into action, so thank you.
So if we could have another round of applause for Tiffany. Thank you very much for celebrating with us.
Introduction of newly and recently promoted employees. Dr. May Palmer.
Yes, I will turn it over to Dr. Hyde.
So good evening, board. I'm very excited to introduce a number of new managers. And as I call you managers, please step up to the dais and bask in the introduction and welcome. So first off, I'm very happy to introduce Kate Keener, the new brand new assistant principal at La Quinta High School. Please come up, Ms. Keener. Kate earned her bachelor's degree in mathematics from California State University at San Bernardino and her single subject credential and master's in teaching credential from Chapman University. After completing the Desert Sands Leadership Academy's executive development program, she went on to earn her preliminary administrative credential. Kate has taught high school mathematics for 15 years, ranging from Algebra 1 to AP Calculus, serving as the math department chair at Shadow Hills for 7 years. She's also spent the last 3 years as a project facilitator in the district office. She is trained in AVID, IB, Advanced Placement, Solution Tree Professional Learning Communities, and the CASP. Kate enjoys cooking and baking and spending time with family by the pool, at the beach, or traveling. She also loves to stay active by working out and volunteering at the YMCA summer camp. Kate would like to acknowledge her mother, Christine Preston, who is a longtime educator in the desert, as well as her brother, John Preston, who is principal at Ford Elementary School, as well as her husband, Chris, who teaches art and music at James Monroe Elementary School. Kate and Chris have 2 children, Cameron, 14, who attends La Quinta High School, and Kyle, 12, who attends John Glenn Middle School. Welcome, Kate. Please introduce your guest and say a few words.
Thank you, everyone. I want to say thank you for this opportunity. I'm honored to serve the students of Desert Sands Unified School District at La Quinta High School, where I not only graduated from, but also started my teaching career in 2005. I'm very grateful and appreciative of the support of my family, both my parents, my brother John and his family, and then my husband and children. And I just want to say I wouldn't be here without the support of so many people in this room from my career in this district and even as a student growing up in the Valley. So I just want to thank everyone here, and I'm just honored and very, very excited. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome and introduce Greg O'Mara, principal of La Quinta High School. Greg, please come up to the dais. Greg earned his Bachelor's of Arts degree from the California State University at Fullerton, his teacher credential from University of Laverne, and his special education credential from the University of California at Riverside. He has a master's degree in educational leadership from Lewis and Clark College in Oregon. He has taught English, math, social studies, health, special education, and has over 30 years of public education experience, including 10 years as a high school principal. Greg also has experience as a district level student support director and also as an assistant principal. He loves to raft, golf, and hike, and is proud that for 4 years ago, he committed to taking care of his personal health, lost over 115 pounds, and has kept the weight off with daily exercise. He would like to acknowledge his wife, Colleen, who is one of the many outstanding educators at Johnson Elementary School, and his 2 children, whom he hopes are studying right now, Kevin, a junior at the University of Oregon, and Kate, a sophomore at the University of Oregon, as well as his 2 sisters, Julie, a retired teacher now working at the University of Laverne, supporting and mentoring new teachers, and Jana, who works for the city of Chino Hills. Congratulations, Greg. Please welcome your guests and say a few words.
Sure. First, I'd like to thank the cabinet for their continued support. I'm losing my voice just a little, so I apologize for that. But I've just been so impressed with your team and your support. I can't be more honored than to take the baton from Dr. Wilson, who I know is back there somewhere. And I hope to care for La Quinta High School as well as he did. Continue on with the strong traditions of the high school. I'm very fortunate that my wife's in the audience tonight, supporting me again through this. And I'm so excited that Kate is here and her entire family. I mean, this is just remarkable to be here with her this evening, and looking forward to working alongside her with her knowledge of La Quinta High School and the deep understanding of the deep traditions of the school. I don't know what else to say. I'm just really excited to get to work and get the job done and caring for the high school. So thank you.
All right, next, I'm happy and very pleased to welcome and introduce Cameron Rowe, the new Dean of Students at Desert Ridge Academy. Cameron, come on up. Cameron earned his bachelor's in sociology from the University of Redlands, his multiple subject teaching credential from Chapman University, and his preliminary administrative credential and master's in educational leadership from California State University, East Bay. He volunteered at the YMCA, establishing after-school programs to better serve the community. He also worked with foster youth before entering the teaching profession. He began his career in education as a classroom and one-on-one instructional assistant before becoming an elementary and middle school teacher in inner-city school locations before relocating and joining La Quinta Middle School as a teacher in 2019. He enjoys hiking, traveling, playing pickleball, and spending time with his wife and their dog, Benny. Cameron would like to acknowledge his wife, Michelle, who is from the desert, a Cathedral High School graduate, and currently a psychologist for our district. Welcome, Cameron. If you have a guest, please introduce them and say a few words.
Awesome, thank you. Well, first, I'd just like to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really looking forward to kind of joining the ranks here and supporting the students and all the staff at Desert Ridge Academy. Quick shout out to my parents up in the Bay Area. Hello, I love you guys, who couldn't make the trip 8 hours, so I just wanted to acknowledge them. It's really strange. I think whether you're a student or an administrator, coming in halfway through a year is scary. And I was scared. I'm not going to lie. I was super nervous. But when I got there, I had an extremely supportive administrative team in Mr. Garcia and Ms. Greenwood, who you guys have been amazing. Thank you so much. You've made it great. Also, a huge shout out to the teachers. They are so dedicated, so caring, and they just welcomed me with open arms. So the trepidation just kind of melted away as I stepped onto campus, which was a great feeling. And lastly, to the students, they are phenomenal. They have been so friendly. They've walked up, they've introduced themselves. They've really made me feel welcome as well. So already in the short 2 weeks that I've been there, I already kind of feel like I'm a part of the DRA family. So I'm just excited and looking forward to a great rest of the year and beyond. So thank you very much.
Welcome. All right, I'm excited to introduce and welcome Brooke Triplett, the new assistant principal at Page Middle School. Come on up. Brooke earned her bachelor's in English, bachelor's in communication, and master's in educational leadership from California Lutheran University. She joined Teach for America in 2010 and served for 4 years as a teaching corps member working in the Rio Grande Valley, Texas. She has worked for Coachella Valley Unified and Desert Sands Unified and was Teacher of the Year in 2012. Brooke has participated in our Desert Sands Leadership Academy and completed Dynamic Mindfulness Trainer of Trainers to bring mindfulness to schools and students. Brooke is also a certified yoga teacher, yoga therapist, and mindfulness trainer. Brooke enjoys hiking, yoga, reading, traveling, and spending time with family and friends. This evening, Brooke would like to recognize her husband of 14 years, Stephen, and her 2 kids, Ian, who's 9, Grace, who's 8, as well as her dog, Max. Welcome. Please introduce your guests and say a few words.
First, I'd like to say thank you so much to the board. I feel like it's an incredible honor and opportunity to get to serve as an assistant principal at Page Middle School for Desert Sands. My husband is at home with the kids, putting them to bed, but I definitely couldn't do it without him. I also want to just acknowledge there are so many people here today in this audience that have also helped me along the way. Elizabeth Hartman is an incredible leader, and I would definitely not be standing up here today without her amazing skills and guidance and support, as well as all the teachers at Indio Middle School who are incredible teachers. And I also want to thank Carrie Sperber for giving me the opportunity to be her assistant principal and welcoming me with just open arms. So thank you.
Last and certainly not least, I'm very pleased to introduce and welcome Kristen Wood, the new principal of La Quinta Middle School. Kristen earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in Physical Education with an emphasis in athletic training, her teaching credential, and her Master's in Administrative Leadership from San Diego State University. She's in her 27th year with Desert Sands, having served as a teacher, instructional coach, middle school assistant principal, high school assistant principal, and most recently as the LCAP coordinator for the district. Kristen's professional distinctions include an Intern of the Year, Teacher of the Year, graduate of Desert Sands Leadership Academy, graduate of California State Leadership Academy, International Baccalaureate, MYP consultant, NISL graduate, and DESLA facilitator, and currently on the board for Leadership Coachella Valley. Kristen is a nurturer by nature and proudly is known as Mama Wood to the many staff, students, and families of not only La Quinta Middle School, but the district itself. She has 5 children, and all have attended DSUSD schools. 3 are college graduates, 1 is currently in college, and 1 is doing it right as a knight at Shadow Hills High School. Kristen loves animals. She has 2 dogs, a parakeet, a dragon, an adorable grand puppy. She'd like to thank her female role models who taught her how to balance career and family, her besties who always have broad shoulders and words of wisdom, and her family who understands about having to share many hours of attention when workload bleeds into family life. Kristen worked at La Quinta Middle School when she first began at the district from the years of 1996 to 2001, and she's excited to get back to her Bulldog roots. Congratulations. Please introduce your guest and say a few words, Kristen.
Oh, thank you. First and foremost, thank you to Dr. Vollmer for giving me this opportunity and Cabinet for supporting that, and also for the board supporting. It's overwhelming how grateful I am for this opportunity. I don't want to get too emotional on it, but I'm so thankful and I'm excited. I'm excited to get back to La Quinta Middle and support that community. I was walking out to the parking lot tonight, and it's a beautiful campus. You see the mountains, and the students have been welcoming. They come up and shake your hand. So for middle school students to come up and shake your hand and introduce is incredible. The staff is amazing. Families that I've worked with have been amazing. I have my office staff here supporting as well, so I'm grateful for them. I came in that first day kind of hair on fire going, oh, let's do this, because it was that first day back from winter break. It was a SAS day, and so just a lot of feels going on right now. I do have Dr. Wood, who's up there, that I want to thank, my wonderful, adoring husband that has supported me every step of the way through our journey through Desert Sands as teachers, all the way through administration. And then our 2 daughters are here. Lauren and Kaiden are in the back there. The boys are working, and so they weren't able to be here, but again, thank you so much for this opportunity. Words can't express how excited I am, and it's a little different coming up here and not doing a presentation on the LCAP. Just want to say, I thought I was going to have a PowerPoint and direct you guys, through the document, and now I'm just talking, so it's kind of odd. So thank you again, and thank you for everyone here who's here to support. There's so many faces in this room that have been amazing support for me, and broad shoulders that's carried all the different conversations that we've had to support all of our students here in Desert Sands. So thank you.
Okay, are there any comments from the superintendent or board on community, staff, and student recognition? Nina?
There's definitely a lot of exciting changes within the community. It's kind of cool seeing like changes in places that I'm familiar with. It seems like our students are in incredible hands, especially to Shadow Hills for the, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for the recent accomplishments, it's incredibly impressive. And the coach seems to be an incredible role model for the girls. And it's exciting to see them achieving things, especially that even Palm Desert hasn't.
Duran?
Yeah, I'd like to begin by going back, I guess, as they say, but I wanted to make some notes here about Coach DeTamble. The man is incredible. He's an incredible individual. His accolades and they're at the school. They just broke and made history this year with that team that went on to CIF and state. He has a legendary commitment. I know him from working there as a coach at the school with him. His commitment to the team is second to none. And I wish they were still here. I thought it was pretty theatrical with the other girls running in towards the end, much like if you were at a meet, right? You know, there's some that come early and then there's some that come later, but they're all part of the team. So again, thanks, Coach DeCampbell, for all you do for Shadow Hills and all the students there. To those of you that have recently been promoted to new positions here, I want to welcome you and thank you for taking on the challenge to support our children here in Desert Sands Unified School District. Some of you come from near, some of you come from far, but you're all now part of the DSUSD family and world. We welcome you to the best of success throughout the rest of this year and through your endeavors throughout your career here at Desert Sands. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Dr. Watson?
I want to congratulate the Lady Knights. I appreciate the dedication and determination that those girls put forward. To the recently promoted, I'm always excited to see people that I know. So congratulations to Kate and to Mrs. Wood. And I know everybody will miss you at LCAP and your enthusiasm and making it very homey when we would come into the meetings. Mr. O'Mara, who I just met, and to Ms. Triplett and Mr. Rowe, welcome as well.
Pierce?
I'm used to being down on that end, so I get to say everything first, but I do say that I'm very proud of the Lady Knights and their accomplishments. Also, the Desert Sun recognizing our schools as the best of the best. And Tiffany's accomplishment with her certification as the COSIN achievements. And also a welcome again to all the new employees, some of who I know and some are just new to the district. Welcome.
Mr. Alvarez?
Recognize the efforts of our athletes. It takes a lot to get up early and run out there. So just kudos for that alone. But definitely the recognition they've earned and have been so recognized. So it's wonderful to hear about the many great things that they're accomplishing. And good to know that many of them will be coming back next year. So good job to them. And to Tiffany for her accomplishment, good job. We have a lot of new administrators. It feels exciting when you take a new position. You're instructional leaders, and there's a lot of responsibility there, but you will do great. You have a great support system, not only in your fellow colleagues, but up at the district office. So know that you will be supported and looking forward to the great things that you'll be accomplishing. And that's about it.
Now, everybody's pretty much said everything, but I just have to say Knights do it right. So that's so awesome. I'm so excited. And to the new positions, of course, I'm super excited about everybody. Kristen, I'm just so excited for you. I can't wait to come and see you. And you're right, LCAP's, I don't know what we're going to do without you with the LCAP. But yeah, the four schools, best of the best, Oliphant, Shadow Hills, La Quinta, and Washington Charter. That is awesome. There are four and we are it. Desert Sands rocks. So super excited about that. And let me see. I think that's it. Just wanted to, one more thing is I wanted to ask Nina if you had anybody you wanted to introduce. I'm sorry I didn't say that before.
So first I'd like to start by just thanking you guys for making this as easy as possible for me, or helping me kind of just coming out here and doing this. It's definitely very exciting, and I'm very honored to take on being a student board member. With that being said, in the audience, I have some family and staff from our school. Our principal came, and that means a lot to me. And our ASB coordinator, who's been with me since freshman year, having to listen to me and handle my stresses as well. It's all of my friends and my family who came. I just thank you guys for coming and supporting me always. So Palm Desert has given me so many opportunities, and I could go on and on about all the different things that I've gotten to do because of being a student there. But I'm excited to be here, and just again, thank you guys. I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. May Vollmer.
everyone did such a great job, as was already mentioned. We're so proud of all of our schools, and Shadow Hills High School, what a great accomplishment. I love when the students show up and to be able to share in the joy of their accomplishments. So that's always very special to me. And congratulations to all of our new employees that were promoted or newly hired that were introduced this evening. Very excited about what we know all of you will bring to your new roles and can't wait to see that happen. I did just want to say, out of the finalists, as Mary so eloquently stated, we had 2 of our schools that were finalists in the best of the best competition. But what she didn't say is there were only 4 finalists. So out of the 4 finalists, 2 of them were Desert Sand schools. So I just think that's pretty amazing. And then I'd certainly want to just give Tiffany a great congratulations. She'll always underplay her achievements, but COSIN is a national organization for CTOs, and it's actually the industry leader in organizations. And so she went through a year-long course that was rigorous. So to say she learned a lot is definitely an understatement. So I just applaud her sticking to it and really embarking on such a really important learning opportunity for her and for the district. So congratulations, Tiffany.
Okay, 12, information. The 2023 board member representative committee appointments. Head Start program reports for July, August, September, and October of 2022. And quarterly report summary on Williams uniform complaints, October through December 2022. And then staff conference items, Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, we actually have 3 this evening. So I'm going to turn the introduction of the first 2 over to Dr. Wood.
All right, thank you, Dr. Vollmer. So tonight, Educational Services have 2 presentations. The one that's showing right now is the second one. Hey, there we go. The first presentation will be on the 2022 California dashboard, and our Coordinator of Assessment and Accountability, Ms. Lee Baird, will be presenting tonight. Lee.
Thank you. Hello and good evening. I'm happy to be here today to share with you the 2022 California School Dashboard. It's a new baseline for us in 2022. California's accountability system is the California School Dashboard. The dashboard includes measures for the 8 LCFF state priority areas. The state indicators include 2 types of performance indicators: local indicators and state indicators. Connecting the LCFF priorities, the local indicators are shared with the Board of Education each June with the adoption of the LCAP and are reported publicly on the dashboard each year. Connecting, gotta get in my groove here with my mouse. State indicators include measures of 4 LCFF priority areas, including data gathered from state assessment results and data reported in California's Longitudinal Pupil Achievement and Data System, CalPADS. Today's presentation will focus on the state indicators. Federal and state data is disaggregated into 13 student groups. Today, we will share data for all of our student groups, but we'll dive deeper into 3 student groups: our students with disabilities, foster youth, and English learners, whose data indicate the most need. The 2022 California School Dashboard indicators are one of multiple means to measure school district and school achievement. The dashboard looks different in 2022 as a result of AB 130 that required that California only report a current year status and performance level. Each indicator has 5 performance levels from lowest to highest performance and is visually represented by a series of purple and gray images that resemble cell phone bars. Let's look at our state indicators, starting with the academic indicators for English language arts. The academic indicators are calculated by student achievement on the 2022 Smarter Balanced and California Alternate Assessments in English language arts and mathematics. They include results from students in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11. The academic indicators measure how many scale score points each student is from meeting standard to create a distance from standard, or DFS. Every student's DFS is averaged to calculate an overall DFS for each student group. Let's look at an example. This slide shows 4 students with an individual DFS. Positive numbers represent the number of scale score points a student scored above standard, and negative number represents the number of points the student scored below standard. We simply add the numbers and divide by the number of students. In this case, you can see a wide range of results adding up to 14, then divided by 4 students, earning a DFS of 3.5. As a whole, this sample student group scored 3.5 points above standard. This graph shows the English language arts distance from standard for all student groups in Desert Sands. A student group must have 11 students to be reported, which is why you do not see a DFS for our Pacific Islander students. Many of our student groups are scoring above standard as an average, which is to be celebrated. However, several student groups have concerning DFSs, including our English learners, foster youth, and students with disabilities. All students in Desert Sands have a DFS of 35 points below standard. As a reference, each grade has roughly a 500-point range from the highest to the lowest score. As a comparison, students across the state scored 12.2 points below standard. Desert Sands always strives to be the best and be the district of choice in the Coachella Valley. Dashboard reporting indicates that Desert Sands has the highest achievement in the Coachella Valley as compared to our neighboring districts. We would like to note that each indicator includes an equity report that shows the number of students in each performance level. Our equity report is on par with the state and indicates higher achievement than our neighbors. This graph shows English language arts performance across all 17 Riverside County Unified School Districts, or Unified School Districts in Riverside County. That makes more sense. Desert Sands ranks 8th. The orange line represents the unduplicated pupil count for each district, as measured by the axis on the right. The unduplicated pupil count includes our low-income, English learner, foster, and homeless students. One question we often get is whether there is a trend between student achievement and a district's unduplicated count. Researchers believe there is a correlation between academic achievement and a district's unduplicated pupil count, and as a way to look for outliers, districts performing above or below what one might expect. The academic graph validates this theory. The gray line represents Desert Sands' unduplicated pupil count. Only one district in the county with a higher unduplicated pupil count is higher achieving in English language arts. This graph shows academic performance across the county for students with disabilities. Again, Desert Sands ranks 8th. There is no correlation between the percentage of students with disabilities, as shown by the gray line, and academic performance. We see a similar trend with our foster youth, ranking 10th. Looking at the county's English learner data for English language arts indicates that there may be a low correlation trend between academic achievement and the percentage of English learners in a district, as they are part of the unduplicated pupil count. However, this comparison does not appear to be a true measure for student groups. Desert Sands ranks 8th. Let's move to mathematics and look at Desert Sands student group achievement. Unlike English language arts, most of our student groups are performing below standard with some significant gaps between student groups, especially with our students with disabilities. A state and local comparison indicate we are falling behind the state distance from standard, but are still performing better than our neighboring districts. Desert Sands ranks 7th in mathematics compared to the 17 unified school districts in Riverside County. As with ELA, there is a correlation between a district's unduplicated pupil count indicated in orange and academic achievement. There are no districts in the county with a higher unduplicated count and a higher achievement than Desert Sands. Our students with disabilities rank 8th in the county, all with DFSs at least 100 points below standard. Our foster youth rank 6th, with only one district that has a DFS higher than 100 points below standard. We see similar concerning results for our English learners across the county. Desert Sands ranks 8th. It is important to note that we have historically shared rankings as we like to know not only where we stand, but our growth compared to others. Although there are celebrations in our data, we must continue on our path to best support all students academically, including our students with disabilities, foster youth, and English learners. The next state indicator, the English Learner Progress Indicator, is another measure of LCFF Priority Area 4. This indicator is unique as it only includes our English learner students. The LP is calculated by growth in student achievement from the 2021 to the 2022 English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, the LPAC, based on the California English Language Development Standards. It includes English learner students with 2 years of LPAC results in grades 1 through adult, age 22. It measures growth using 6 LP levels, and a student is considered making progress towards English language proficiency when they move up 1 or more LP levels from 1 year to the next or remain at the highest level. Desert Sands' English learners showed growth similar to the state and a higher rate than our neighboring districts. We have the 5th highest LP rate in the county. The next state indicator on the California school dashboard is the chronic absenteeism rate as a measure of priority area 5. A student is a chronic absentee if they miss for any reason 10% or more of their instructional days. That is only 18 days out of a 180-day school year calendar. Chronic absenteeism rates skyrocketed this past year for all of our student groups. We see a trend of high chronic absenteeism rates across the state and the county, presumably as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. Desert Sands ranks 12th across the county in chronic absenteeism, 13th for our students with disabilities, and last for our foster youth. Our English learners ranked 14th. Our second measure of priority 5 is graduation rate. California's graduation rate is calculated using a combined 4 and 5 year graduation cohort that earn a regular high school diploma. Students that earn a certificate of completion, adult education diploma, GED, or pass an equivalency exam are not considered graduates, even at our continuation schools where they previously counted as graduates. Overall, Desert Sands has a high graduation rate at 94.4%. However, 4 of our student groups have graduation rates below 94%. Our homeless youth, English learner, African American, and students with disabilities. We are proud to have the highest graduation rate in the Coachella Valley and well over the state average. Desert Sands ranks 5th in the county for graduation rate. Our students with disabilities graduation rate ranks 7th. And our foster youth have the highest graduation rate in the county. Our English learners rank 5th. The last indicator on the California School Dashboard is the suspension rate, a measure of priority area 6. Suspension rates are calculated by dividing the number of students that were suspended at least once and dividing by the cumulative enrollment. This graph shows the suspension rates for all student groups in Desert Sands. Although our average is 3.5, we have several student groups that are being suspended at higher rates, including our homeless youth, students with disabilities, foster youth, and African American students. Our suspension rate, although slightly higher than the state average, is the lowest in the Coachella Valley. It is also notable that we do not have any student groups with a very high suspension rate performance level, as indicated by the equity report. Desert Sands suspension rate ranks 9th in the county, 10th for our students with disabilities, 3rd for our foster youth, and 10th for our English learners. Thank you for your attention as we shared the state indicators on the California School Dashboard.
Hello, any questions?
Yeah, I noticed that the foster is right down there with achievement-wise with homeless and English language learners, students with disabilities. But I don't even know how many students that represents when we talk about foster children in our system, but they have the highest graduation rate. Now, I noticed it says before on a 4 or 5 year program. So are any of our students eligible to be counted as graduate, like not necessarily on time, but for going a 5th year? Or how does that work?
Couple responses. So in response to your last question, we just have a small handful of students that in 1 year may come back and graduate as a 5th year.
Okay.
It's not common in Desert Sands, but we do offer that opportunity. And your first question was?
Yeah, the number of, and we have
Oh.
a
Like graduation rate.
Oh, well,
A
total
foster
foster count is 177 district-wide.
177 children. And they have a higher graduation rate than
Any other school district's foster youth group, student group. Yes, in Riverside County.
and yet their achievement is very low. So how do they still, that's with an A to G type of, not necessarily, not the A to G requirements, really.
Yeah, and so I think there's 12 seniors that were foster, so out of that 177. So that figure represents all 177, and then the graduation rate is just reflective of those 12 that were seniors.
When you have a small student group, it leads to larger variations from year to year. So we may see something a little different next year.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That are consistently higher than us in the ELA and the math, like Temecula and Riverside and Beaumont. And I understand there's demographic differences between there and here, but do we communicate with those that are doing better than us?
Absolutely. So we have instructional leadership network that we meet monthly with the county, and we're provided a lot of opportunities to network and collaborate with those folks. We do definitely pilfer from those top end districts, but we do also, like Valverde and Corona Norco and some of those districts, that a little similar breakdown as Desert Sands, and we learn quite a bit from them.
I don't have any questions, but this was a lot of interesting information. Thank you for taking the time to present that.
My pleasure. All right, thank
Thank you
you
so much.
All right, thank you, Lee, and thank you to your team. All right, our next presentation will be on our English learner progress, multilingual learner progress. Our presenting tonight will be our Director of State and Federal Programs, Dr. Angela Randolph, our Coordinator of Multilingual Learners, Nancy Alvador, and our Senior Director for Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Dr. David Gustafson.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent May Vollmer, and Cabinet. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present this update to you tonight. Before we get started, I would like to elevate a few of the aspects which Lee Baird just mentioned. First and foremost, our ELPI, our English Learner Progress Indicator, is positive. However, it is not enough. When we dig deeper into the data, we realize there are certain schools and certain grade levels that have opportunity for growth, and it's our expectation that we're going to meet their needs to ensure that those students rise to the occasion and close the linguistic gap. Second of all, we know that the students are not making progress, the English learners are not making progress in ELA and in math. That was shown in the presentation provided in October to the governing board, which was attached to your Friday letter last week for your reference. And finally, when we look at our reclassified fluent English proficient students, they're also known as RFEP students. Typically, an average time frame to learn and to be reclassified is 5 to 7 years. We know when we reclassify students within the 5 to 7 years, then those students will have an opportunity to access electives and other course opportunities. However, if students don't reclassify within that time frame, they become long-term English learners, and they don't have the same opportunities as students who reclassify in a timely manner. So I wanted to preface the beginning of the presentation with that, and so we'll move forward. Oops. Back one. Oh, good, thank you. Okay, so this presentation, as you noted on the first slide, it said English Learner Program Update. Now you see a slide that references the Multilingual Learner Master Plan. The committee that wrote this plan the plan was a process of 3 years. We worked with the Center for Equity for English Learners from Loyola Marymount University. And through that process, the world of English learner programs evolved, and the word multilingual became more prevalent. And what we noted, we wanted to uphold the potential for multilingualism and to build on the assets of English learners. And therefore, it started out as an English Learner Master Plan Advisory Committee, and it ended up as a Multilingual Learner Master Plan. So as you look at the slide, you can see that there were 4 program goals, and one that we will highlight is the creation of equitable, coherent, and sustainable systems. That's a big part of what we're doing for our English Learner Program services. We're trying to develop, and we are developing equity-driven processes as we're building capacity to deliver research-based programs to our teachers and administrators that leverage those assets that our English learners bring to us. And the third one is to establish effective family community engagement systems. And finally, implementing an accountability model to measure our students' growth. So tonight what we're going to do briefly is look through the lens of some of the chapters and highlight the progress we've made since the approval of the plan in June of 2022. If you look at the slide, you'll see the vision for EL education and the mission. It's based on, this is the vision and mission of the English Learner Roadmap. That's the policy that guides all English learner programs in the state of California. Per the Center for Equity for English Learners, Desert Sands was the first district to create a multilingual learner master plan aligned to the English Learner Roadmap, so we're very proud of that. The next is looking at Chapter 2, responding to diverse learners. What this chapter looks at, if you see the key content on your left-hand side, the identification, placement, and reclassification of English learners. To your right, you'll see the progress. So one of the aspects that we have highlighted this year is really looking at LPAC awareness. The English Learner Proficiency Assessment for California, known as the LPAC, measures the progress of the ELD standards. So our purpose this year with this is to educate various educational partners such as our multilingual learner leads, our instructional coaches, teachers, principals, parents. What are the aspects of that assessment? What are the task type? What are they measuring so that everybody, including the students, have a better understanding of the test. Secondly, having LPAC student data chats and assemblies that kick off the LPAC testing timeframe, understanding the reclassification process is so important for the students and the parents so that they really understand the importance of reclassification and the benefits once they reclassify. I'm so excited to be in this stage of our implementation of Elevation. It's an online EL data platform. The implementation, we're in our second year. We've been expanding what the teachers and the principals have access to, putting almost every single form online. Next year, we're hoping to be 100% electronic, where there isn't any more paper pencil with the reclassification, the RFIP monitoring. Right now that exists. We're going to put the academic support plan online. And the other aspect of this, which is so exciting, is the creation of tiles, which means if a principal or a teacher, whoever has access, can look at a particular tile and it might say English learners with disabilities. Push that button and you will see as a teacher everybody in your classroom who is an English learner with a disability, or your school if you're the principal. And we have multiple tiles that we're creating. We're working with principals, what other tiles do they need to ensure that they have the data that they need at their fingertips. So that is the support we're providing at the sites. The next and the last one under Chapter 2 is the reclassification of English learners with disabilities. This is an equity issue. English learners who have a disability, and especially in this context I'm referencing, moderate to and severe students, we're working in partnership with Student Support Services and have been for about 3 to 4 years now. And we've been creating a coherent, sustainable system, and we put it within Elevation. We are the first to do that in the state of California, and I believe even nationwide, where our forms and our process that we developed is being used for sure throughout the state, if not the nation. And that took a lot of hard work from a lot of project facilitators and two different departments to have constant working and collaboration to not only understand the process, but to educate ELD teachers, special education teachers, and that's a continuous process to ensure we're equitable with our severe and moderate students. So this Chapter 3 is on language acquisition program options. In the state of California, the minimum requirement is for every English learner to be in a structured English immersion program. If your district, like us, we're so happy and fortunate to have a dual language immersion program, you can also have that program, which is at Reagan and Jackson Elementary Schools, and it is expanded to 3rd grade this year. And we have an extensive partnership with the California Association of Bilingual Education, CABE, also known as CABE, and the DLI teachers receive extensive professional development, which involves coaching cycles, modeling lessons, etc., and parent outreach. So the other aspect to this chapter that we wanted to highlight was we have the seal of biliteracy in Desert Sands, and we have done really well in that aspect with the number of students that receive the seal of biliteracy. What we are growing and we're building the infrastructure this year is pathway awards. We don't want to wait till 12th grade to award our students with acknowledgement, so to speak, for their progress in their growth in language development, in a language other than English, or and maybe multiple languages.
Good evening, board president, board members, our esteemed superintendent and assistant superintendents. I'm very excited to go over Chapter 4 and Chapter 5, which address the progress that we have made. With greater intentionality and support, we are increasing professional development. As you can see here, we have been providing designated English language development for teacher support. Our project facilitators have been providing that support at the elementary level. We have Benchmark Advance that is going to be facilitating an ELD professional training that's going to be probably in the fall of this year. Our middle schools continue to use StudySync and incorporating Explorer and Avid strategies, and we're seeing much success amongst our English language learners, especially our LTELs. They're making great progress with academic vocabulary, using complete sentences, collaborating with one another. We're very excited about that work. Our high school is using StudySync as well, and we're so proud to We're going to be actually providing newcomer support for our teachers that have newcomers in their classrooms. So we're going to be providing professional development in that area. Also, we're going to be front loading our ELD interventions. We have 10 ELD intervention teachers / coaches that are going to be providing support at the elementary level. We're very excited about that. And also we have additional teachers at the secondary sites that are going to be providing support at the high schools to lower class size so that all students are receiving English language development, and it also opens up the master schedule. As you can see on the left-hand side, this is in the key content area. Chapter 4 also entails the comprehensive ELD, designated ELD requirements, language appraisal team monitoring, grouping, considerations for ELs with disabilities. And we are so excited that last week we are providing actually a 3-part series that provides professional development in regards to our ELs with disabilities. Our first session last week had close to 60 teachers filled up Deck North. And I mean, that was just incredible. It was awesome because every school in our district was well represented. We are so proud of our teachers, and thank you for coming out to that presentation. We have 2 more left this month. And finally, best practices. We're going to be providing support in best practices for designing designated ELD training. So we're very excited about that. In Chapter 5, we are going to be talking about access to core curriculum and integrated English language development. As you can see, the key content in Chapter 5 is it goes over integrated ELD, primary language instruction and support, multi-tiered systems of support, and considerations for ELs with disability. Again, we've been providing professional development and structured academic support time, also known as SAST, in providing them with integrated ELD instructional strategies. We've also provided support for the certificated educator orientation. And finally, Tier 1 professional development. Our ELA project facilitators and our ELD project facilitators are collaborating and providing Tier 1 professional development for our schools.
A key component of the EL program is a language appraisal team. A language appraisal team, the purpose is to progress monitor or ensure that students are making progress linguistically and academically. And as I mentioned earlier, the academic support plans are the last form that we plan to put into Elevation. Those plans are plans that address the needs of at risk of LTEL, that means at risk of long-term English learners, as well as long-term English learners. So looking at the academic support plans, we're gathering data on iReady, CASP, and LPAC, and ensuring that teachers are aware and the students are aware of their status, as well as in some instances, depending on grade level, which they're older most of the time anyway, but that they're looking at their own goal setting, the students are, so that they can set their goal for reclassification. So you have the language appraisal team, which is specifically a part of the EL program. And then in addition to that, the school site Tier 1 and Tier 2 leadership team, part of their goal and part of their process is to look at best instruction for all kids, which ensures looking at ELs and looking at Tier 2 intervention for our English learners also.
So as part of Chapter 6 in the Multilingual Learner Master Plan, the A through G Completion Improvement Grant serves as another way in which we actively support and monitor the progress of our English learners. Last April, Desert Sands Unified School District was awarded nearly $2.3 million as part of California's A to G Completion Improvement Grant Program. To qualify for this grant, Desert Sands developed a comprehensive plan outlining how the funds will be used to increase or improve services to English learners and other high-need student groups. The plan focuses on efforts in ensuring access to rigorous A through G courses, providing opportunities for students to retake and validate A through G courses, and closely monitors our English learners' progress towards becoming A to G eligible. You'll recall that for a student to be considered A to G eligible, a student must complete, with a grade of C or better, a sequence of certified high school courses that meet the minimum eligibility requirements for admission into the University of California and Cal State systems. Since receiving our first apportionment last April, Desert Sands has started utilizing these funds to add a counselor on special assignment and 4 A to G bilingual paraeducators at each of our traditional high schools. These positions are in classrooms and across campuses working directly with students, families, teachers, and school counselors, and play a critical role in building a bridge between home and school. On a side note, Desert Sands will be the first district in Riverside County to deploy A through G bilingual paraeducators to support our students. Finally, Desert Sands has leveraged these grant funds to increase access, improve services, and monitor students towards A through G eligibility. A few highlights include 5 additional days each summer for our high school counselors to engage in A through G evaluations, assist in the development of master schedules, and monitor our student progress towards A to G. Educational Services looks forward to providing regular updates to our board and educational partners on our progress for the A to G grant.
In Chapter 8, looking at staffing and professional learning, we are currently collaborating with the Riverside County Office of Education, Molly McCabe in this instance, to build capacity with our project facilitators. And we look forward to enhancing what has already occurred, her work with Jefferson Middle School. There has been great progress with the work she's done with the staff there and taking that learning and applying it district-wide. Also, looking at designated ELD teacher support by our project facilitators, it's our goal to continue to enhance all of our project facilitators as they continue to provide direct instruction, and eventually we'll be doing coaching cycles and lesson studies. Our family school partnerships, as many of you know of the term PIQUE, Parent Institute for Quality Education. We have an extensive program in Desert Sands, and I'm proud to list all these schools that are providing the service to their parents. So PIQUE is an extensive parent education program and has proved to be very successful. ELAC is our Site English Learner Advisory Committee, and the DLAC is our District English Learner Advisory Committee, and we are continuing to implement those programs in the district, or those committees. Footsteps to Brilliance is a bilingual early literacy family literacy program. It's a program extended to our families and our EL students throughout the district, and it's an extended learning opportunity beyond the school day. We have EL parent workshops. Erica Alfaro, you heard about her earlier this year. That was an extremely successful presentation she provided us. Tonight, you'll see a contract for David Ramos pending your approval. We will have 5 presentations by Mr. Ramos, 3 in person, 2 via Google Meet, so that we can address the needs of our parents. So it is our intent that this plan, our multilingual learner plan be used as a resource to ultimately guide all of us, to guide our leaders, to guide our teachers, to guide all of the educators toward a systemic and instructional practices for our English learners. In the words of Nelson Mandela, if you talk to a man in a language he understands, that goes to his head. If you talk to him in his language, that goes to his heart. I'd like to acknowledge all of the people that were part of the English Learner Master Plan originally. The committee was called the English Learner Master Plan Advisory Committee. We had an extensive committee of various educational partners, and then throughout the 3-year process, we had a multitude of subcommittees, and the writing of the chapters and the rewriting of the chapters. Our lead writers listed up there, Patricia Doherty, Carrie Kenny, Elaine Lethko, Joanne Lira, and Richard Romero. They deserve a kudos for their extensive work on the master plan, which became the Multilingual Learner Master Plan. So that concludes the presentation, pending any questions.
Questions, Nina?
I actually do have one question. So you mentioned that the English learners with disabilities, the teachers will now be able to see who in their class is a student in that program. Will there be any way for those students to opt out of their teachers having that information? in instances where they're not comfortable with it, or?
You know, it's a benefit for the teacher to understand who in their classroom is an English learner and who has special needs. So that's probably a designation that would not change. I think if I'm addressing your question properly, because as educators, we have to understand our students' needs, and therefore we need to know and be able to provide the proper instruction, if that makes sense to you.
That does answer my question.
Okay.
Thank you.
I just want to say, wow, what a presentation, lots there to digest. Kudos again to you and your fine staff on the work that you've done, Dr. Randolph, especially with the multilingual learner master plan. I think
Thank you.
that's an absolute, brainchild to do something of that magnitude, to basically put a plan in effect. So kudos to you and every one of you on your staff that was part of that. I'm glad to see the counselor support. I think that's an incredible component in everything, oftentimes overlooked, overworked, and underappreciated. So thank you for doing that. That's an incredible component. The A through G para educators, I think, is another idea out of the box that's just remarkable. So again, fabulous thing there. First in Riverside County, again, goes to the I would just say the aptitude of your team. So again, kudos there. I think I missed something. First in California, the nation. I didn't catch it to something. I can't remember. I started to take notes.
We are working with Elevation, and
Oh, okay.
they're a nationwide company,
Right.
and we were the only district working with them to put ELs with disabilities and the reclassification process in the system. It took us over a year, and now that process is being used throughout.
Let me wrap my head around it, because I've worked with Elevation,
Oh.
which means I've only had enough training to be dangerous. But
Yeah.
it's the one with the 2 L's, right, in the name
Yes.
of its program,
Yes.
which is already an EL learner's
Right.
biggest nightmare. But anyway, that's another story. So you were the first to do what again?
To work through the process of reclassifying moderate to severe students within the Elevation system. So we created a system to reclassify moderate and severe students.
Uh-huh.
But we not only did that, and another district might have done that too, but we put it into the Elevation system. So it's all done electronically. So a meeting that you might have, or the process, it's literally done within an online data platform.
If I can just add,
Yes.
I think the significance there is that those students are duly identified.
Mhm.
And oftentimes, when you have students that are students with disabilities and English language learners, one identification gets attention where the other does not. And so Desert
Mhm.
Sands has done some very intentional work through collaboration of student support services and educational services over the last couple of years that to ensure that those students that are duly identified are getting the resources they need for both identifications and not just one.
And thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Volmer. I think that's an excellent clarification, because you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. A lot of times, when you do have a multitude of challenges, that it's
Right.
easy to focus on one and forget the other.
Yes.
So then again, more kudos to you. And then the Footsteps to Brilliance, I did look a little bit, but that's a great program. I really like that. So again, what a great program to insert in there for the development of the children there. Thank you. Best to you and your team. I have no further questions. Thank you so much.
Dr. Watson?
My only question is for our English learners that we don't have a translator in person. Do we offer something in the classroom, not only to help our children, but to help our teachers communicate with those children?
We are sharing resources with the teachers so that they know of online platforms that we already have online platforms and that you can translate into other languages. So we're constantly informing, I should say, and to have a clear understanding across the district and communicate which platforms, how they can access different languages within that platform and what are available depending on the platforms.
Pierce? Yes, thank you for your presentation. I did have a question. I know with the $2.3 million grant, was able to get us the counselors and the paraeducators to help at the high school level. down at the elementary, would you say that of our 19 schools or whatever elementary, most teachers are doing designated ELD within their class? Or are they using, I know of a few schools that are doing intervention, ELD, pull-out intervention to do designated ELD. And how is that being done with fidelity based on the sub shortage? Because I know sometimes when there is intervention teachers, they're pulled for other things, that type of thing.
That's an awesome question. Nancy Velador is doing site visits, and we are doing walking through classrooms and looking at our practices as we speak to ensure that all of our EL students are getting the protected time as required by state law. Comprehensive ELD program includes both designated ELD and integrated ELD, and we're enhancing or providing, like she said, there was a statement on one of the slides that said a training to help the principals create an ELD schedule. So that's part of the whole process to ensure that it gets, it's just like ELA and math, it's an everyday core class.
Yes.
Intervention is different.
Mhm.
ELD is a core class and students must receive it every day. So we're working on ensuring that that happens and then progressing into that tier 2 intervention on top of it.
Okay,
So
I
that they
see.
get the tier 2 interventions for language development, not just ELA or math, but language development.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very thorough and had a lot of information for us to dissect. But I appreciate one of your first comments was that it's asset-based, so it's not so much an intervention, rather seeing how we can augment the cognitive languages already in place, the home language. So I think having ELD, not only integrated but designated, is beneficial to all students, not just simply English learners. So as we keep that in our minds. Couple of questions. You mentioned that you're planning to meet the needs of REL students. In the earlier presentation, it was mentioned that there's 3 groups that we're focusing on. What are the plans that you have for meeting the needs?
Are you referencing all ELs or I'm not sure what?
I'm referencing ELs just for this presentation, but you started off by saying you guys are planning to meet the needs. I was just curious if you guys had something in place or in mind.
Well, we're doing it in different ways. For example, building the capacity of our own project facilitators to assist the instructional coaches and teachers at the school site is one. It might be that way for the professional development. Another aspect, it's still professional development, but it's for assisting our teachers with newcomers. So if you look at the various typologies of our English learners, I think that's a key aspect. We're looking at different typologies because one size doesn't fit all. And we even know one newcomer doesn't even equal the next newcomer. So it's all building that capacity to understand the various language proficiency levels of our ELs, and then providing the research-based programs that we referenced to ensure that we're closing the language and academic achievement gaps.
So the focus is on PD right now.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Mhm.
I noticed.
And direct support to the teachers through that process. So it could be PD outside of the classroom, and we're also going to focus in the classroom. Like for our DLI program, I gave the example of working with the coaching cycles. So it's all of that, but it's different ways to deliver the professional development.
Thank you for that. Next component is most of our ELs, and I got a list of ELs by grade level, they were in the elementary, yet we have secondary here. So I appreciate all the efforts that's being done for secondary, and there's a lot of great work that's going on there, so thank you for that, sir. But are we bringing on our elementary director?
Our elementary director, for curriculum instruction?
Please?
Yes.
No, I'm just asking.
Totally. He's involved with everything.
Okay, just saw him absent.
Yes. And we know that our focus, especially looking at LTEL and at risk of LTEL data, that our focus is going to be also really strongly emphasized at the elementary level, because our goal is to decrease our number of at-risk and LTEL, for sure, students.
So to piggyback on that, so is there a shift to move? Okay, well, before I go there, how many personnel do we have dedicated to our ELs?
So earlier in the presentation, Nancy noted, and next board meeting, we hope, a job description will be coming to you for an ELD intervention teacher / coach. Our goal is to, by next year, hire 10 elementary ELD intervention teachers, coaches. But for right now, what we want to do is hire 2 to pilot the program before the end of this school year, and to work out the kinks so that we can figure out how to provide more direct instruction with the assistance of the 10 ELD intervention teachers. So at the school sites, you have your core ELD teachers, and then we'll have ELD intervention teachers, and that's all at the elementary level. And then at the secondary, we added 19.5 FTE to lower the ELD class sizes, as well to loosen up the master schedules so that ELD could be provided to all English learners. So it's kind of a multifaceted approach, both at elementary and secondary.
Okay, but currently,
We have ELD teachers at all school sites. I mean, is that what you're asking?
no,
Like how many?
currently, who do we have dedicated to our ELs? Is it just the young lady behind
Oh,
you?
you mean us? Okay, yes. Well, I'm on the team. Nancy's on the team. We have project facilitators in state and federal that are dedicated to it. And then also our project facilitators from all of Ed Services incorporate ELD components to their professional development and incorporate information and professional development when they're out at the school sites through their coaching, modeling, etc.
Got it. And is there conversation to have the EL moved out of state and federal, more of a compliance department, to more into the Ed Services?
Well, Ed Services is the umbrella.
I get that
Yeah.
part, but think
Yeah.
you know what I mean.
That's not for me to say.
No, but I'm just, there's no, I thought it was gonna be part of the presentation.
Oh, no.
No? Okay. That's what I was told. The next question would be, the workshops that you guys have planned for the parents, could I please get a calendar invite to that? I
For
think
sure.
it's a great idea.
Mhm.
I heard great things about the PK program.
Yes.
And I just wanted to see it in action. I thought the things I heard from the principals were
Yes.
complimenting that program very much, and I
Yes.
thought I'd check it out.
It's an excellent program. The first year I was here, I was astounded by Indio High School had over 100 parents in the PK program that year. Amazing program.
Yes, thank you for that.
Mhm.
The appraisal team, you guys mentioned that, are they the ones who go over the student's progress with the student?
Well, we have.
Or is it just during reclassification?
Well, we have EL leads at the school sites, and they also are part of that whole process. So we have an EL lead at each school site that assists with the academic support plan. And then broader than that is like the principal is involved and other people are involved to look at the progress. But when you say about the goals, that is more than likely either the instructional coach or the EL lead. Sometimes they're one and the same.
I was just checking to see if there was someone like, for example, an EL mentor who is assigned a caseload, for example, of 20 EL students, and they meet with the students at the beginning of the year and go over their
Yes, so that would
LPAC scores, and then see where they need to put a little bit more effort in for the reclassification process. So we do have someone like that.
We have yes, we have people at all the school sites that are working with the students, and especially in the section I talked about, at risk of LTEL specifically, and the LTEL students. Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was a lot of information and great work, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no questions, but thank you. I appreciate it. And I just have to say about the PQ, yes, I went to the graduations at Indio High School. It's amazing. So I'm looking forward to always going to those.
Great.
So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And next we have the governor's budget update. Mr. Aquino.
Good evening, board, cabinet. What I wanted to do was just give you an update on the budget since it was recently proposed on January 10th. This budget is going to focus on protecting existing investments, so it's not a really exciting budget. The budget is short general fund revenues from this current year, about 29.5 billion, so the state does have a pretty decent hill to climb. Proposition 98, which is a constitutional guarantee in the budget, that will be fully funded, that the governor is proposing. That's about $108.8 billion. That is a decrease from the current year of 1.5 billion. So I know I'm talking large numbers and how that potentially will impact us. I'm just giving you a quick overview. The governor's budget does propose an additional $6 billion in Prop 98 funding, and how they're able to achieve that is $7.4 billion in increases and $1.4 billion in reductions. So that about 8.13% or 5.5 billion, he's proposing to fully fund the COLA. If you're curious to know what that means to us in dollars, it's about $15.7 million. They're also proposing to reduce the art music block grant. That art music block grant that we were anticipating receiving this year, which we have to tie a plan to that, is about 14 million. So that reduction in the art music block grant hurt the district by about $5 million. So it wasn't a small amount that we were impacted by. Also, next year, we are going to have to continue our school district reserve cap that requires us to maintain a cap in our fund balance of 10%. And that is due to the fact that if the general fund budget from the state deposits into the public school system stabilization account exceeds 3%, then in that year, then the following year we have to implement a reserve cap. And so we know for sure we will be implementing that next year as well. So just to talk really briefly, we are continuing to implement universal school meals. It's pretty interesting if you watch the governor's budget forecast, because this budget doesn't talk about a recession or a decline in the economy as much as potentially could happen. But he did mention in the presentation that it's good to maintain these meals because it will help us through a recession. So I think if anything, it's really telling of where this potentially could go. Universal TK is continuing that investment for Universal TK with full implementation by 25-26. Next year, we will have to enroll any student under the age of 4 if they're willing to enroll in the TK program if they turn 5 before April 2nd. There's also an equity multiplier you might hear about. That's a $300 million investment by the state that is going to address the most neediest schools. That detail hasn't been provided to districts, but that is something that is new. Also, the ELOT program, or before and after school summer school program, wasn't addressed in the budget presentation. But the LEO did, as a side note, the LEO did advise the legislature that they can access this program in the event that there's a situation that they need to look at supporting other programs, because that program did jump from $1 billion to $4 billion this current year. So one thing that's important to look at, the budget that the state is projecting has deficits between $4 to $9 million over the next over the years. What it means is that the state is anticipating that its upcoming budget is insufficient to cover the cost of authorized services. So I think that's also important for us to note. The state has proposed to fund their current budget using delays, temporary reductions, cost shifts, and borrowing. So the budget addresses ultimately a $22 billion problem. The legislative analyst's office back in November is anticipating that the state might face a $24 billion problem. The other thing is the administration's, meaning the governor's office, has proposed $14 billion across 3 years. So that in itself is a savings to the district or to the state because it helps reduce the budget problem because they are anticipating more revenues in their estimates. Part of the way that they're going to be able to fund their budget is 3/4 of it is focusing on spending, and 1/4 of that is focusing on funding shifts. $7 billion is going to be attributed to what's called funding delays. What that means is there are certain programs out there, particularly higher ed, health, and broadband, that instead of funding it for the following year, they're going to push out that funding in the 2024 and the 2026 year. So it's basically a move, a kind of a pause of expenditures and moving it into those out years. The other thing is a $5.7 billion reduction. Right now, the state is making some contributions to the unemployment insurance account that typically we would have to pay. So they are going to reduce that off, and then they also have what's called an inflation set aside. The interesting thing about all that, and I know I'm getting really technical, is that the Legislative Analyst's Office doesn't define that reduction, half of this reduction, as an elimination of the baseline spending. And the reason for that is that the inflation reserve wasn't something that was an augmentation in the budget that was previously approved under current law. So there's a lot of things that are going on in the budget that I think we just need to be cognizant about. The other thing is a $3.9 billion in trigger restoration. Basically what that means is there are certain programs, housing, homelessness, transportation, natural resources, and environment, that if the governor's budget forecasts exceed mid-year, they will trigger those reductions and fund them moving forward in January. So that's what's called the trigger reduction. And then $1.2 billion in borrowing. So the state has a budget deficit of $9 billion in 24-25, $9 billion in 25-26, and $4 billion in 26-27. So if any of those budget deficits are accurate, the state's going to have to address it. So here's just a quick look at the revenue picture on the state side. Let me just skip over right here. This was if you saw the budget presentation, this is he was standing next to a slide, and he called that capital gains chart. It was called the EKG chart of California. And the reason why he's mentioning that is because our budget is highly volatile because it is based on capital gain. It's a large portion of it is based on personal income tax. And half of the personal income tax in 2020 was paid by the highest earners in California. So 1% of the California population pays 50% of that personal income tax. So when we talk about, and a majority of the personal income tax is a means of capital gains. So when you see a lot of people losing out on their investments and things like that, the highest earners on the investments that they make have an impact on California's budgets pretty significantly. What's in a picture? I put here a 17-year history of budget proposal cover pages, which I thought was kind of interesting. So if you look at way back, right, in 7-8, you could see all the different budget proposal covers that came out of the governor's office. Right, so just pretty normal, if you will. All the way to 15-16 to 2022-23, which was a good year. We received a high COLA. Everybody was happy. And this is the current budget picture, which I thought was really interesting and important for us to look at because it's a picture of a road. You don't know where it's going. You see that it's taking a turn. There might be a light at the end of the tunnel. If you know anything, if you're running cross country and you know there's a turn and you're running on a hill, you know you're going to go down or up, but it's not going to be flat. So it's ironic that we had the cross country girls team here. So what we may be facing is some tough times. We're not sure. We know that the budget doesn't include a recession in it or a proposed recession. There's a lot of one-time solutions to fund ongoing programs in this budget. There are still deficits the state has to address. And the one good thing, though, is that the state has reserves that they're keeping in their coffers in the event that there is a downfall, though they are going to pull from that. That's pretty much it. There's going to be more details coming out. Our team will be attending a workshop by School Services of California that will be detailing a lot of information that we'll be able to share with you. Our second interim budget will include the governor's budget proposals in our out years. And that's it.
Are there any questions, Mr. Duran?
Well, no, I like the psychology behind the cover pages there. I think that does say something if you look at it. You know, ink was probably hard to get back in some of those recession or, Great Recession times. So you can notice that there was not a whole lot of ink on those ones. Thank you again for your update on the budget. I too am concerned about the budget and some of the fiscal downfalls that we foresee coming this way. I'd like to say, though, I like to think California always pulls out. Things aren't always as dreary as sometimes they're led, we're told sometimes. And I think I'd rather err on the side of caution as opposed to, taking on something new or, and spending money otherwise. But the picture, I think, says it all, can't see the forest for the trees, something like that. But looking forward to a May revise, I guess, when we get a better idea of what's going on. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think it's important to note too that he rebenched the money for TK facilities. So that's something that eventually is going to have to be addressed. And also, from my understanding, because of the funds being low for a universal TK, that teachers are expecting that 10-to-1 ratio next year, and it will not go to 10-to-1. It'll stay at 12-to-1.
So do you want me to address it or you want to
Sure,
address it?
go ahead.
So when we reviewed in our planning purposes and reviewed with staff, the way that the initial bill was written is that it would be a 12-to-1 ratio. And if funding permitted, that it would drop down to 10. So we very cautiously said, we're going to wait and see. So right now we're planning for 12-to-1. We're not going to plan for 10-to-1 until we see the money. And that was the right thing to do because we're not seeing the money. So.
Ms. Pierce?
Great presentation. You didn't bring it quite down as low as you do for understanding as sometimes. Used more big words this time, but it's
Yeah, this isn't our budget, so it was a
I
little bit
know.
harder to.
So you don't care if we understand it or not. It just doesn't look as good. I know. And I was sad to see some of the arts and music thing take a cut when it just barely got everybody excited about it, to go down that much.
Yeah, that was, just to speak on that, that was the art music block grant that we received this year. It does require a plan, but through Proposition 28, the state now is required to reserve 1% of Prop 98 funding for art music. So the next year, we will be receiving funding, and we will still be receiving funding.
Was this year's grant like a one-time, you have to spend it this year? Was it spread out?
So I can't remember the timeline. I think it's over a couple years.
Oh, good.
And we do have to build a plan to that. And just to remind the board did authorize some of the use of those funds. And so we just need to package that in a presentation that will be done at a later board meeting.
Okay, well, thank you for the information.
Mr. Alvarez?
Just wanted clarification on the reserve cap you mentioned. I'm not even going to attempt. I think you said we're supposed to be at 3% roughly, somewhere around there, and we hit 10%, so we have to then implement a cap. Can you just clarify that? I want to make sure I understand it.
Yeah, so a district of our size, there's 3 different requirements that the state has based on ADA. We fall under the 3% reserve. And so anything that, if you look at our fund balance, if it ever exceeds 10%, then the district has to identify uses for those dollars that exceed 10%. And the board did that at the previous budget adoption, and the board will be doing that again at this next adoption.
Got it. Thank you.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, number 14, public hearing. There are none, and we are at board and superintendent comments. Mr. Duran.
Not too much as I got sick, but I did have a whole week planned for my during the first week of January, and I want to thank Dr. Volmer and all the staff, and my sincerest apologies to everyone that I got to miss out on seeing. But if you guys haven't heard, there's a virus out there, and it somehow seems to hit people occasionally at the weirdest times. So outside of that, have been spending a couple times out there with Shadow Hills, just supporting the teams that have been competing. And so I really enjoyed that and look forward to finally having my lunch with Dr. Dunn here, which I'm hoping to schedule here. I was talking to somebody earlier about doing that. And that's it from here, but thank you so much.
Dr. Watson.
The past few weeks, I've been very busy. Before break, I met with the superintendent and Carter, Mr. Williams. And then I went over to Washington. Since break, I've been to Palm Desert Charter Middle, Palm Desert High School, Lincoln, Page, Horizon Summit, Ford, Earhart, Glenn, and La Quinta High School. I met with Dr. May Volmar. We had a nice, I think, productive meeting together. And I've met with all 4 of the assistant superintendents who were very welcoming, and they should have told me to wear tennis shoes. I don't think I've walked so much in all my life in the last couple of weeks. But I appreciate meeting all of the principals. I appreciate seeing so many familiar faces, my patients and friends and colleagues that are teachers and admin, and Dr. Wood knows every other person that he introduced me to, I already knew. So it's nice to see that, but it's also nice for me to walk into these classrooms and see kids that are my patients or my kids' friends, and they're excited to see me, and I'm excited to see them in reality and see what they're truly doing. And nobody's putting on a show for me, and it's just nice to see how the kids are learning and interacting.
Yes, at the beginning of this year, I went with Mrs. Porras. We started some school visits with Van Buren and Roosevelt and Hoover and Carrillo Ranch. And so that was nice to go in and see the kids in action and learn about some of their special events they have already had or will be having, with a note to any principals to, please email us if you're having something special, because we really would like to come if we can. I participated in the LCAP advisory meeting. I believe it was the 2nd, and then there's one in February and March, or is February the last? Well, maybe it was my 3rd. I don't know. There's 4 meetings. I'm not sure, but it's very informative where we take it apart. And also attended the elementary middle school district spelling bee with Mrs. Porras, and we gave out little bobbing head
bees,
spelling bees, and a grand trophies to the winner and the runner up. It happened to be the same boy, Darren, who won last year. He's an 8th grader this year, so he'll be out of the running next year. And so that was exciting to see the kids there from each school site. Thank you.
Alvarez.
Yes, tonight there's a memorial for Riverside County Deputy Calhoun, who we recently lost, a tragic incident. So recognize that, and our deepest and sincerest condolences to the family that's taking place right now up in West Valley area. So I did want to recognize that. Got an opportunity to visit with the superintendents, assistant superintendents, and superintendents. So thank you guys for the tour of your departments. It was greatly appreciated. Visiting many of the schools during my week off and your guys this week on, somewhere around 20 schools we hit. So I still have some schools to make up, but looking forward to that. During that time, got an opportunity to visit Reagan and Jackson. Took me to their dual language program. It was an amazing program. I've only been a dual language principal, so it was good to see a lot of things that I'm familiar with, but also recognize that they said it was a program that was highly sought after. So maybe we need to look at expanding the program to other schools and seeing how that can take shape. Other school sites that I got a chance to visit, I made sure to stop by the cafeteria workers because those are some of our unsung heroes. Our classified staff is amazing. They're the backbone of any school. So it was great to acknowledge their work. And while I was at Amistad, the lunch lady that said, hey, you know what? I want you to know that no one leaves my cafeteria hungry. And they always know that if they are hungry, they can come back. And she said it with such passion that it resonated with the work that's being done there. And just wanted to acknowledge our classified teams for the great things they're doing in the office as well. So I got a chance to meet a lot of our office staff. So just kudos to the great things that they're doing. Visiting classrooms, plenty of classrooms we went into. At Ford, they're doing some great things with our 3D printing. It was Washington, I think it was Ms. Cooperstein's classroom that had a great STEM lab set up. So just want to acknowledge all their efforts. At Jefferson Middle, I met an individual, Jaime Lopez. He was a math teacher, and the engagement that was taking place in his classroom was amazing. Proud principal of the great things that were going on there. She was just super proud of him, and rightfully so, because he demonstrated what we all want to happen in each of the classrooms. At Indio High School, got a chance to take a tour of the campus and see what their needs are and see the great things that are happening there. Um, Beautiful campus. That's where I graduated from. Didn't look nowhere near like that when I was there. But glad to say that Mr. Lawson has really established a culture where the students are the ones who have the buy-in to keep that campus clean, and it was immaculate. So I appreciate he really embodied that sense of taking ownership of what needs to be done, and kudos to him for leading that. Met Mr. Christensen at Lincoln, and we walked around his beautiful new playground area just to find out what's going on in his campus. And it was good to learn about the many great things that are occurring there. At Palm Desert Middle School, we have an individual, Alfredo Reese, one of our counselors. So counseling is so important, and they don't get the kudos they always deserve, but he's doing great things with our English learners and students who just need a helping hand. So I wanted to recognize his efforts. Earhart also had a couple great programs and some rooms that I got a chance to meet. So see Veronica Hernandez at Earhart, and her class was doing a makerspace room that they have over there. So it was good to see a lot of the activities taking place. Want to just mention that I heard a lot of your comments as school administrators, and one of the comments that really resonated with me was taking a look at how we allocate items. Sometimes school districts, not just here but across the state, we allocate resources, and this is just an example based on, let's just take safety supervisors. You guys get X amount based on enrollment. Sometimes what we need to do is we need to look at your specific needs, and some sites may not just need that, and that's where equity comes in and justice comes in. So maybe we need to look at what are the needs of the individual sites, because they are unique, and there's some sites that may need a little more than others. So I hear your comments, and I want to at least bring that forward as time comes up to see how we can support your site's specific needs as opposed to just having a set allocation. And I did notice that there was a difference between some of the sites in the West Valley and some of the sites in the East Valley. And it doesn't go unnoticed. And that's something that we're going to be looking at addressing. We're going to be having our meeting on Thursday to just make sure that what our goals are going to be. And I want to acknowledge that there are some needs in the East Valley that are there. And it's important that we look at those. And I just want to thank Dr. Vollmer for being the first one to take that lead to say, these are some of the things we want to do for them. So, thank you, Dr. Vollmer, for your genuine interest in supporting that cause, and just know that I did hear your comments, and we're going to be looking at seeing how we can best serve the needs that you have at your site. It does take time, but know that it does not fall on deaf ears. So thank you, guys.
Everybody said everything. Tricia and I have we visited 4 schools, and we have a plan to visit all schools within the next couple months. So I always love to go and see the principals and hear what they have to say. And it's very important to me to hear their heart and just know what's going on with them. So, and yeah, we went to the spelling bee, which was really a lot of fun. And they gave out these little bobblehead bees that were so cute. And so that was, anyway, that was great. So Indio High School always does a really great presentation with that. So that concludes our comments. And now we are at public comments for open session items. And let's see, I'm going to do online first. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to hand it over to Vice President Alvarez to read our online comments.
First one is from Cameron Swanson. I am in support that SLPs will now be given their full credit of years of service when hired to DSUSD. This will definitely entice experienced SLPs to come to work here. However, I came to this district 4 years ago and was only given 10 years credit of my 15 years served. Current staff should be grandfathered into this MOU and given credit for our lost years as well. I too came here when there was a shortage of SLPs and have dedicated myself to the student and staff of DSUSD over these last 4 years. In 2016, a similar MOU was presented and gave credit to current staff at that time. It is only equitable to honor my colleagues and my full resume of years as this MOU takes effect, as this will help retain experienced SLPs that continue to make DSUSD a leader in the Valley for speech and language services. And that concludes her comments. Next, we have Dana Bonelli. There are exciting incentives in the MOU you will be considering this evening for new hires. However, there is one part that will create an ongoing significant inequity issue. Number 4 in the MOU allows for 18 years of experience for only speech language pathologists and nurses, and only for 2023-24 recruits. While acknowledging all years of experience is a nice incentive, it does not recognize current staff. While I deeply and personally understand the difficulty in staffing SLPs and nurses, we were actually able to hire 5 this year alone. 4 of those had 18 plus years of experience. If you approve this MOU as written, when a 2023-24 recruit signs on next year with, let's just say, 14 years of experience, for example, they will start their career in DSUSD making $6,000 more than others that have significantly more experience. And this is not just for 1 year, like the additional one-time $10,000 sign-on bonus. It's for every year until everyone gets to step 18. The math is simple, but simply not equitable. In 2016, we were able to offer this same incentive. However, in that MOU, it was agreed and outlined specifically that SLPs currently hired by DSUSD with credible years of service not previously granted based on Article 13.6 shall be granted the remaining creditable years of service for salary placement commencing the 2016-2017 school year. Adjustments will not be retroactive. Adding this into the current MOU is absolutely essential. This would mean that 4 out of the 5 new hires this year, and I believe 4 current hires, would be equitably placed on the salary schedules. I noticed that at the bottom of the current MOU, there is an agreement that it is non-precedent setting. That language is not in the previous 2016 MOU and thereby could possibly be construed as setting a precedence on this isolated incentive. Please consider making necessary changes to provide for both recruitment and retention, which is arguably just as difficult. Respectfully submitted. The next submission is from Hannah Boyko. I am currently in my 3rd year as a speech language pathologist for DSUSD. I am honored to work with amazing colleagues who have many years of experience and are not being paid appropriately. My seasoned colleagues pave the way for the new generation of SLPs each year. It is disheartening to see our district play games by advertising incentives and turn a blind eye to the fact their own hardworking employees are facing pay disparity amongst their own teammates. I believe as a department, we deserve equality and recognition for those with many years of experience. And that's the end of her submission. Next one is Leslie Leon. On behalf of my fellow SLPs and school nurses, I wanted to highlight the inequities of agenda item number 19, general functions, personnel issues number 5, employment incentive MOU. As an SLP that has worked for DSUSD since 2016 and was directly impacted by the MOU signed in 2016-2017 school year, I am encouraging the board to recognize the current SLPs and school nurses with more than 10 years of experience by granting all years of service. When you are only considering granting all years of experience for new hires, what is not acknowledged are the hardworking SLPs and nurses already in the district who may have as many or if not more years of experience than those hiring on in the 2023-2024 school year. To be compensated for your experience and knowledge is vital for retention, especially for these high needs positions. If we focus only on incentives for new hires, we are essentially ignoring the skills, knowledge, and expertise of many of our wonderful SLPs and nurses who currently work in DSUSD. In 2016, when I was granted all years of experience, it made me feel valued and acknowledged, as I had worked for 14 years as an SLP prior to coming to DSUSD. We all deserve to be compensated for our years of experience, not just those employees considering employment with us in the fall. Thank you for your consideration. Leslie Leon, speech language pathologist for DSUSD with 20 years of experience. And that concludes her comments. Next item is from Sylvia Amico. Currently, you are planning an MOU that states, quote, for the purposes of initial salary schedule placement only, 18 years of credible years of public school credentialed service will be granted for newly hired speech language pathologists and nurses, end quote. The last item specifically states that these terms will not be precedent setting. It does not say anything about current staff. When I was hired this year, I was not given my full years of experience and certainly not 18. In contrast with the 2016 MOU, which states that, quote, new hires should receive their full years of service and current SLPs with credible years of service shall be granted the remaining credible years of service for salary placement, end quote. There is no language in this MOU indicating that this should not be precedent setting. The SLPs at DSUSD are asked to do impossible jobs, such as see students for therapy while IEPs are being thrown at them nonstop. I personally have been attacked by admin at one of your schools in front of other teachers, unjustly because of the amount of work that is impossible to do and for asking to use another office because the speech room had ceiling tiles collapse. Parentheses, I have pictures and a video of this. Seeing this MOU is another slap in the face. I am asking that you give recently hired SLPs the credible number of years of experience. I would also ask that you take a deep look at what we have to endure on a daily basis to make sure our jobs are done. Thank you. The next submission is from Patty Boyko, and it reads as follows. On behalf of the Speech and Language Department and speech challenged students, I implore this MOU be reconsidered and amended to illuminate DSUSD's publicly posted values of, quote, relationships, respect, innovation, inclusion, teamwork, kindness, equity, excellence, and service, end quote, by honoring all service credit years of currently employed SLPs in the equal interest of retention. It is disheartening this MOU applies to only newly hired SLPs for the 23-24 school year. I accepted employment last month, 8 months shy from the fall 23 upcoming school year, and placed on the salary schedule below my years of credit service. This new MOU grants 18 years of service credit to only newly hired SLPs who start 23, causing inequality of salaries within the SLP department. The injustice means a newly hired SLP can be compensated well above seasoned DSUSD SLPs, undervaluing existing meritorious status of earned credit years. MOU December 7, 2016 addressed both recruitment incentive and retention, but this new one shortchanges retention. 2016 MOU granted previously hired SLPs prior to that date to rightfully receive their full years of service credit. Therefore, why does this current MOU ignore retention and thereby equally respect and honor the SLPs currently employed with DSUSD? In an article by the American Speech Language Hearing Association on recruiting and retaining qualified school-based SLPs, financial incentives are logically listed as key factors for both. Why skip retention for the 23-24 school year? It was valued and included in 2016. Speech challenged students are harshly impacted by turnover of experienced SLPs. Please do not shortchange service credit years for currently hired SLPs at cost risk of turnover. It's within the board's power to restore a commitment to both recruitment and retention, to not undermine existing service credit years. Retention is the cornerstone of SLPs and students' relationship. Continuity by retention alone maintains SLPs for students, our shared priority. And that concludes hers. Next one. Heather Gray. I would like to comment on Andrew Jackson Elementary School. I see that you are replacing the marquee there, but this could be a good opportunity to also rename the school. The largely Hispanic student population will be shocked to learn one day that their school glorified a renowned racist, a slave owner, and violent anti-Native American imperialist. Historians today are not looking back at Jackson with praise and adulation, rather with shame and embarrassment. We must ask ourselves, What is the continued purpose and message we send by having a school named after such a vile character? And what was the purpose when choosing that name for a school? As long as Andrew Jackson has a school named after himself in Indio, then that school remains our district's dishonorable shrine to America's racist history and a symbol of hostility to any non-Caucasian student. And in the case of Jackson students, it's all of them. Please consider renaming the school in honor of a more decent person. I urge this to be a topic of discussion at the upcoming Coffee with Kelly event. That was the conclusion of hers. Next person up is going to be Sandra Fernandez. We have 1,044 students at John Glenn Middle School, and health office hours are split between 4 classified staff members. We each cover 1 hour and 40 minutes of our work time, along with our daily duties. When you count these minutes of coverage in the health office and add your 2 15-minute breaks and half an hour lunch, equal to 1 hour. And like me, I cover front desk for half an hour. All that time is equivalent to 3 hours and 10 minutes of my workday covering other duties from my actual work duties. That's not to mention adding another 30 minutes helping to cover another person's lunch with her health office duty time or her desk coverage. That equates to 3 hours and 40 minutes, almost half my workday. I do registrations, help with testing students, assist in answering phones, helping with the front desk, cleaning and managing student queue files, translating for meetings, assisting Spanish-speaking parents, and assisting with other work duties when needed. So yes, I do see a huge need to having a health tech, covering the health office due to many students with health concerns that have arisen since COVID-19, anxiety, depression, etc. And other serious health conditions such as the diabetics, students with respiratory problems and allergies, kids that come in daily with injuries, headaches, and stomach aches, ant bites, and migraines. I'm an office technician bilingual, and we can't even get a higher classification. Please help all our schools and students get the adequate help we deserve to avoid the district having a potential lawsuit. And that concludes online comments.
Okay, Desert Sands Unified School District regular meeting, Board of Education, communications from the floor. In accordance with the bylaws of the board, number 9323, 62519, time is reserved for oral communications by members of the Board of Education or by citizens present. Citizens wishing to be heard on agenda items, regular or special meetings, and/or non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board, regular meetings only, shall have a 3-minute limit. In accordance with the law, the board cannot take action on any item not appearing on the agenda, as indicated in the bylaws of the board, number 9323.2, 62519. John Parker.
Good evening, board. It's been a while since I've been here. Rather than address a single subject tonight, I'm cold. Is anybody else cold in here? I'll touch on a couple of points of interest. I have a wide variety of commentary, articles, and analysis on parkwestsubstack.com. If you have your number 2 pencil out, parkwestsubstack.com. It's free, and there's no advertising on the site. I don't make any money. Supervisor Porras, I suggested in an email to you, in the interest of diversity and inclusion, I'm saying that a little bit tongue in cheek, the board would consider appointing a male student to serve as a student board member. In the 2 years that I've been coming to the meetings, they've all been female and wonderful. I'm not, they're all great, but let's have a guy up there, come on. Also, as mentioned, the County Board of Supervisors meeting, they have a camera on the speakers at the podium. It would be a show of respect to the people that take the time to attend the meetings and speak, as well as staff and students. I was watching tonight, people are getting promotions and, accolades and so on and so forth. And, it'd be nice to have a camera on them so that when the people that are home are looking at the meeting, they'd be able to actually see them give their thank yous to you for hiring them and promoting them. And I'm sure parents and loved ones would appreciate that. I'm going to run out of time. And that's the next one was to increase the allotted time from 3 to 5 minutes. One question, how many English learner students are in the district? Anybody know?
About 2,000.
Out of how many students?
6,000. Oh, that's right. We're talking about high school. So 6,000 out of 26,000.
Okay. That was a very elaborate plan that you have, and I would be curious to see what it's like when the rubber meets the road. I'm sure it's very difficult for you. I had sent you also a Brownstone Institute article called The Consequences for Children, the Data So Far, and that's the effects of the response to COVID. Everybody talks about COVID-19 did this and this and this. It was more the response to COVID that, mandates, lockdowns, and so on and so forth. Anyway, I'm going to run out of time. Thank you for your time. And boy, those numbers were pretty bleak when it comes to performance, but hopefully they'll improve. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's Kaya Wertz Lopez. Kaya? I don't know if I'm saying your name right. Sorry. I almost said Kayla, but you probably hear that all the time.
That's okay. All right. Good evening. I'm here to speak to you today about the Employment Incentive MOU. You've heard a lot of comments about that tonight, both from staff members who it will directly impact and staff members like myself who it doesn't really impact, but I'm here sort of to help represent my team of speech language pathologists and nurses. And to address the inequities that this proposed MOU would create within our team. I have been working here in this district for the last 4 years, and I have greatly enjoyed it. I graduated from this district. I came back. I love it here. My speech language pathology team is a really close-knit group of professionals, but despite that, we find ourselves having this pattern of a high turnover rate. We have SLPs who come to work for our district for a year or two, and then they leave us. And this turnover is highly impactful for both the SLPs who scramble to help cover that work and for our speech and language impaired students who sometimes end up going a month or two without services because there's no SLP available to cover that absence. And our speech and language students really deserve continuity of services. So hiring new SLPs is important, but so is keeping the ones that we have. Omitting incentives for current SLPs and ignoring retention creates this culture of turnover within our district. The MOU that was released in 2016 addressed both recruitment and retention, as you've already heard, so I'm not going to reread that quote. But while the current MOU indicates that it should not be precedent setting, the 2016 MOU does not. This is the precedent for our district. The values of respect, equity, excellence, and service are reflected here. The proposed MOU does not exemplify equity for our team and ultimately impacts both excellence and service. We are asking you to consider how incentivizing retention of excellent and experienced speech-language pathologists and nurses can impact the services that we are able to offer to Desert Sands and our students. So in summary, recruitment is important, but retention is essential. Thank you.
Thank you. Ingrid Olofsson.
Hi, everyone. I'll probably be a little redundant in what I'm going to say because I think there were so many wonderful letters submitted tonight, and Kaya kind of hit it out of the park, I thought, with her presentation. But I am here to speak about the new incentive for hiring speech-language pathologists and nurses. And I said before, the current MOU, if approved, will credit new hires for up to 18 years of experience. However, that won't be reflected for the new hires and current hires, and I believe there are 9 of us. I'm very thankful to all the speech pathologists that showed up here today and are sitting back there patiently listening, even those who really this is not impacting. I'd like to encourage the board to provide new and current hires to be placed on an equitable salary schedule. I'm an SLP I've been at it for 30 years, but I have 20 years in the district. Yes. I've been an SLP for 30 years, but I've been a school SLP for 20 years. And I think I bring a variety of skills into this setting for my students. And I think the big push really for those of us that have been at it for so long, we all learn from each other, but we really do see instances where our kids suffer here because of the turnover and big gaps of services because there's that they have left, and services at times have extended lack of coverage for up to 6 months. And we've had to provide overtime coverage for that, and we obviously have to make up that time. So point being, retention is very important, and we are impacted by our jobs because of the complexities of our job, the requirements in paperwork, and the number of students that we service. So I'm happy that I'm able to express this, and so glad that my team is here to share this with me. Thank you.
Thank you. Andrea Parra. Oh, Andrew, I'm sorry. Andrew Parra, I didn't see the W. Sorry about that. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I have a daughter, Andrea, so I apologize.
I'm actually tearing up as I'm
Sorry,
walking up here.
Andrew.
I'm sorry, I got short man issues here. Oh, God, that's okay. You'll make it up to me. Okay, so I am the new CSEA chapter president, elected as of January 1st.
Congratulations.
Good evening, board, cabinet, Dr. Mae Vollmer. As much as I could stand up here and talk about myself and introduce myself for 2 minutes and 45 seconds, I'm not going to do that. I will be up here every board meeting with you guys, saying something, addressing some concerns, giving some shout outs to people. Tonight is addressing a concern that has actually come up with some of our members. Actually, there was a good online letter that was written by Sandra Fernandez that actually addresses this issue as well. So I'm going to go ahead and read a letter that was actually given to our executive board by one of our clerical staff at our sites. Good evening. We're writing to express our support for placing health techs at every school site. As clerical support staff, we believe that this is a critical step towards ensuring the safety and well-being of our students. The reality is that clerical staff are not equipped to handle the variety and severity of medical emergencies that arise throughout the day. from students hyperventilating and overheating to broken bones and severe concussions. These are all very rare cases that occur more frequently that would be ideal. While the clerical support staff are CPR certified and able to assist with minor injuries, the support that a health tech would provide will ultimately make the biggest difference in getting the student the advanced medical attention that is required in certain situations. Health techs on site would also add an extra layer of support for the students with chronic health conditions. We have several diabetic students and another student who suffers from a neurological disorder. If one of these students were to go into diabetic shock or suffer a seizure, these students need to have access to someone who can monitor their condition, provide medication, and assist with any necessary care. This is a basic human right that the clerical support staff are unable to provide due to not being licensed healthcare professionals. As a medical emergency can be very frightening and traumatizing experience, not only for the student, but the staff who are not prepared to deal with such events. A health tech on site will not only provide the students with the support they deserve, but it will also provide peace of mind for parents and staff members. Health techs will also be able to expedite the process of alerting emergency services to the site in a timely manner. To conclude, by providing the proper support to every school site, we are creating an overall safer and more secure environment. By alleviating the problem, we are effectively creating the solution. With that being said, an ounce of prevention is most definitely worth a pound of cure. That comes from my clerical staff at DRA. So this is an issue. I know I'm going to run out of time right now, but I really hope that we can address, just because coming out of COVID, obviously there's a much bigger need for some of our clerical staff. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A general functions, business services. Award contract for 890/16F Group 1 marquee replacement project at Jackson Elementary, Jefferson Middle, and Indio Middle. Is there a motion to approve? Beto, is there a second?
Are we going to take that with number 2? Did you say 17.1 and 2? Or
1
just
and 2, yeah, we can do
one
it
and
as a
2?
group. Yeah, we can do it as a group, sorry.
Is that what you want to say?
You want to make a motion as a group? Yeah. Okay,
I'll second that.
okay. Is there any discussion?
I'm glad to see these are going to be replaced because it's discouraging to drive by and want to see what's going on at the school, and they haven't worked. So I'm really happy to see those going in.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0.
Madam President, can I ask a question just right now? I just want to make sure that CSEA, if we pull that item individually, are we voting on that tonight? No? The MOU?
The MOU is on the agenda for tonight, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
And so I'm just asking when we
Yes.
do get there, if we can.
Yes, I will. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, 18, general functions, ed services, there are none. And on 19, I just want to say that there are 5 items, and I make a motion that we take 1 through 4 as a group and address number 5 separately.
I make a motion to take 19.1 to 19.4 as a group. Tricia Pierce.
Is there a second?
Alvarez.
Is there any discussion?
I think we should reassess the MOU.
Well, I'm just talking about 1 through 4 right now. So is there any discussion on 1 through 4? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, now, okay, so now the motion to table number 5, so the board can further explore. Is there a motion to table number 5? Okay, Mr. Duran, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Alvarez. Is there any discussion?
Knowing that it did go through the channels of DSTA, I'm disappointed to see that it wasn't addressing the equity and I don't know if there were 4 people that it really affects or 9. I heard somebody say what the actual, they keep saying SLPs and nurses. Was it inclusive of nurses as well? Okay, for the same term of years and the same incentive hiring of the 10,000?
Yes.
Okay, so I do think for the purposes of retention, so we don't go back to the days of virtual speech classes and things like that, that this is a very important thing to look at and to assess if it's really, I mean, we have been looking for years for SLPs. Every time I meet a student that says, I'm going to be a teacher and I'm taking speech and language, I said, oh my gosh, good for you, because it has always been an issue. So I'm glad we're going to look at that again. Thank you.
Okay, so we're voting to table this. So all those in favor say aye.
I'm not.
Oh, you want
there's still
to
a
say
question.
something? Okay, yeah.
So we're tabling just to bring back at a different time, or we're tabling so that the parties that need to have a discussion can have a discussion? Because I want to make sure that we're on the same page when someone makes a motion for tabling, that's just to put it off for the next meeting. But is the purpose of that motion, Mr. Duran?
I think the purposes generally of items that are tabled has always been to revisit it and to take a look at that, the information. Is that way if questions should be need more clarification, then those people would have that opportunity to present their case either from both sides of the aisle or from our side also. So it's been my experience that when you table something, it's that you just need more clarification before you're able to make that decision. That clarification takes many different forms. It could be, us just talking with leadership. It could be other people giving us more information.
And I was asking for clarification because the other option was just voting against it. So I just wanted to make sure I was on the same page with.
It's not to insinuate and not to,
done.
to say that a lot of times the decision doesn't change. It's merely just to say, we just need a little bit more clarity, maybe someone does. I don't know.
But I did have a couple questions, and maybe it would be Mr. Hyde, Dr. Hyde. You know what? I'll wait on my questions.
So is there any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Okay, general functions, student support services. There are 2 items in general functions, student support services. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually?
I make a motion to take them as a group.
Second?
Patricia Pierce.
Second, Alvarez.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. General function superintendent, there are none. Consent items, student matters, Dr. May Ballmer.
Yes, we have quite a few to read out from closed session. In reinstatement student case number 21/22-12, on a motion made by Mike Duran and seconded by Tricia Pierce, the motion was carried 5-0, the board accepting the recommendation of reinstatement. Reinstatement student case number 21/22-26, on a motion made by Patricia Pierce and seconded by Mike Duran, it carried 5-0 with the board accepting the recommendation of reinstatement. In reinstatement student case number 21/22-67, on a motion made by Patricia Pierce and seconded by Beto Alvarez, it was carried 5-0. The board accepted the recommendation of reinstatement. In reinstatement case number 21/22-90, on a motion made by Mike Duran and seconded by Beto Alvarez, carried 5-0. The board accepted the recommendation of reinstatement. On stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-38 on a motion made by Patricia Pierce and seconded by Dr. Watson, it was carried 5-0. The board accepting the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order with the reinstatement requiring counseling. Stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-43 on a motion made by Mike Duran, seconded by Patricia Pierce, carried 5-0. The board accepting the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order with the reinstatement requiring counseling. On stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-45 on a motion made by Beto Alvarez and seconded by Mike Duran, carried 5-0. The board accepting the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order with the reinstatement requiring counseling. Stipulated expulsion case number 22/23-47 on a motion made by Beto Alvarez and seconded by Patricia Pierce, carried 5-0. The board accepting the recommendation of the stipulated expulsion order with reinstatement conditions requiring counseling. On expulsion case number 22/23-52 on a motion made by Patricia Pierce, seconded by Mike Duran, carried 5-0. The board accepting the recommendation from the hearing panel.
You? And what said 53, I think, isn't it? Does it say, it says 53.
Did I not say 53?
You said 52.
Oh, I apologize. 22/23-53.
Yeah.
It does. Thank you
Yeah.
for correcting me. I appreciate that.
Okay, 23, there are 19 items in business services. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually?
I would like to take 23.1 individually.
So then we make a motion for
Yeah, we can
consent
make a-
items 23 to 19 as a unit?
I second the motion for 23.2 to 23.19 as a group. Tricia Pierce.
Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Okay, consent item 23.1. Is there a motion to accept 23.1 Desert 2022-2023 Desert Sands Unified School District Comprehensive School Safety Plan?
I'll move to accept item 1 of consent items 23.
Is there a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Any discussion? Okay, so you can just abstain. Okay, so,
I had another comment.
okay, go ahead.
Well, I just noticed that on a couple of them, for instance, Franklin, but I'm not sure if there were others, that there were maybe 4 or 5 others. They have the parent meeting before the school year started, and they do get people together to do that and have that early on, get going. Okay, just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
We asked our principals to have a plan submitted at the beginning of the school year. So education code doesn't require, there's no timeline on when the plans have to be, they just have to be approved and then submitted, I believe, to the state by sometime March 1st or April 1st, I'm not sure. March 1st. And so we wanted to be proactive this year and make sure that the school sites were able to put all their new personnel on the plan for the current school year.
That makes sense. I was double checking. Thank you.
The only other comment was just trying to get those in earlier on the agenda. Instead of approving them halfway through the year, we can get them down for the following subsequent years earlier.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any abstentions? 1, Kylie. Any opposed? Motion carries 4-1, 1 abstention. Okay. Consent items, educational services. There are 27 items in educational services. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually?
We will take consent items 24, 1 through whatever that was, 27 as a group.
There a second?
Second, yeah. Go ahead. Second.
Go ahead. Okay, Beto. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Consent items, personnel services, there are none. Consent items, student support services, there are 4 items in student support services. Is there a motion to take these as a group or individually?
Move approval, take them as a group.
For a second?
Second, Tricia Pierce.
Any discussion?
I did have a question, to Mrs. Fisher. We're still doing the Maxim Healthcare people that help us. Is it our own staff only now, or does Maxim help us through this year with any COVID testing, COVID clinics, COVID rooms at the schools, or is any of that in place anymore?
No Maxim staff as we had during the COVID years. That's not what we're doing now. This is just for additional staff if someone's out or, or if we need a particular LVN for a medically fragile student. But we're not, the COVID
All that
testing and
stuff.
everything is with Desert Healthcare Foundation.
That's right.
At no
Okay,
cost.
so this is just for helping us with our nursing staff when we
Mhm,
need people.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Consent items, superintendent, there are none. Personnel actions, Dr. Hyde, do you have any items for certificated?
I do. So I'd like to turn everyone's attention to the retirement that's noted on the first page of our certificated piece under 28.1. And that's Colleen Hahn, who's with Palm Desert Charter Middle School. She's retiring after 26 years of service to the district. So it's pretty exciting for her. Congratulations, Mrs. Hahn.
Made it to the finish line. Okay, so let's see. Is there a motion to accept 28.1?
I make a motion that we approve 28.1.
Is there a second?
Tricia Pierce.
Second, Alvarez.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 5-0. Personnel actions classified, Dr. Hyde.
Okay, again, I'm going to draw the board's attention to the first page of the classified personnel items. We have 3 retirements. Felix Cardenas, who's worked in transportation, he's retiring after 22 years of service to the district. This one's amazing. Marlon Massengale, Desert Ridge Academy, retiring after 47 years of service to the district. Paraeducator,
Wow.
special education. And last but certainly not least, Juliana, I think it's Vladescu. She is a paraeducator, special education at Page Middle School. She's retiring after 15 years of service. So combined, these 3 employees provided 84 years of combined service to students in our district. Congratulations to all of them.
Wonderful. Okay, so is there a motion to accept 29.1?
So moved.
Mr. Duran, is there a second?
Second, Alvarez.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries 5-0. And call out of closed session items, Dr. May Vollmer.
Yes, we have a few. So tonight in closed session, the board took action to approve the general release and settlement agreement, SSS number 12/2022-2023, on a motion made by Beto Alvarez and seconded by Tricia Pierce. The motion carried 5-0. In closed session, the board took action to accept a settlement agreement with the California School Employees Association, regarding the interpretation of Article 7.9.1 of the current CSEA collective bargaining agreement related to work performed in a higher classification. It passed with a motion by Mike Duran and a second by Beto Alvarez. The vote was unanimous. In closed session, the board approved the appointment of Kara Contreras to the position of assistant principal at La Quinta High School with a motion made by Dr. Watson and seconded by Mike Duran. The vote was unanimous.
Number 31, suggestions for future agendas that receive at least 3 votes. Mr. Duran.
The only thing I just suggest is I have catastrophic sick leave as we're looking into things and maybe going into negotiations next time around. I just like to see a report, how many times we've maybe offered it. Like, again, we don't need names, but how many days have been used, et cetera, how it differs, how can it improve? It's funny how fast time flies, but I would just say about catastrophic leave is, you think how would I say it? But I once served with a person who actually said, the days belong to you. You can do with them what you want, and I kind of want to see if we could move. I heard a lot of firsts today, and I like to have us to have the best catastrophic leave system in place that rewards, or not rewards, but basically supports staff that may need that, because it is a terrible time. Lots of times when people have to go to that area where they need to ask for days. And I'd like to see our system be as accommodating as possible while being fair and allowing us to grow the program. I will tell you that I have done a little research that happened by, you get sick for 2 weeks and lay around, you got nothing to do, right? You start Googling stuff. But I have a friend who works for the Department of Defense, and she told me that, for example, she can give her days, up to a limit, to somebody else. It doesn't have to go through the committee. Because sometimes we do reject people in the committee, and I know that from experience for various reasons. Sometimes it's not a qualified, I don't know. No, maybe not recently. I'm not saying, but but I just want to make sure that people have that ability to utilize their days. And I don't know, maybe somebody else thinks, but I just like to see a rehaul of the system, or just to take a look at it, get up to date. Because I don't think it's something maybe all of us understand fully. I'm willing to admit I'm not sure I do.
Those are 3, everybody?
I'll second.
Okay, all right. Dr. Watson.
Have to agree with considering having health techs at the school. For example, I was at a site visit last week at Page, and my TKer got hurt, and I had 2 phone calls in the middle of that meeting because he was hurt and they needed me to come and address it. So that was taking away from the front office staff because that wasn't a time when they typically have their nurse there.
Votes for that?
Going to suggest it also, not knowing if it has to be an agenda item or if we could get some kind of information on what that would entail and
Or
so forth.
we'll get a report.
Yeah, report. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is that what you wanted to say, Ms. Pierce? Okay. Mr. Alvarez? Yeah, we've got it. Yeah, it'll be a report. So, Mr. Alvarez, do you have an item that you like?
I had an opportunity to attend the community event in India, the Martin Luther King celebration, and I know it's too late for our own resolution, but certainly recognize the contributions of our community members coming up, and maybe for future we can be prepared for that. I'm going to hold off on anything because I know we're having a study session on Thursday, and I think we'll be able to get a lot done there.
And I have nothing for a future agenda. So announcements is the next regularly scheduled meeting and the annual, board meeting of the Board of Education is February 7th, 2023 in the District Education Center Boardroom at 47950 Dune Palms Road, La Quinta, California. And we will be reconvening to closed session. And when we're done with that, we will come back and close. So it's 9:49. No, it's a posting. Yeah.
Colleen. How are you?